Good day, students. I hope you are doing great today. So after sets, we will now have a new discussion and we will be focusing on the set of real numbers. Okay, again, so we will be focusing on the new chapter, which is the title is Set of Real Numbers. Okay, so we will be dealing first with integers. And specifically, we will be dealing with the absolute value and understanding about integers. So in this particular lesson, we will learn, no, at the end of the lesson, you will be able to define integers, represent the absolute value of a number on a number line as the distance of a number from zero. And you can also compare and order integers. So here are the some vocabulary. So you will learn the definition of the positive number, negative number, opposites, integers, and absolute value. So when we say positive integers, that means those are the numbers greater than zero. So they may be written with a positive sign, just like that one, but they usually written without the positive sign. So in math, we usually represent positive as without sign. Okay, although it has a symbol which is positive, but you can just ignore that one. Okay. So next is negative numbers. Negative numbers are less than zero and they usually represent as negative symbol just like that one. Okay, a minus sign. So for example, here are the examples of positive and negative numbers in real world situation. So you have to name if it's a positive or negative number to represent each situation. For example, a jet climbing to an altitude of 20,000 feet. So you are climbing man. What does it mean? That means it's a positive numbers because it represent rising man, right? So positive number represent rising. Okay, so if you take $15 from a bank, what does it mean? So that means negative numbers because it represents taking out or withdrawing. So that means negative 15. So if it's something like taking something, then that is a negative. But if it is an increase or rising, that means it's a positive. Okay? Number. How about this? 7 degrees below zero. That means below zero. So when we say below zero, that means those are integers. I mean negative integers. So we are dealing with negative numbers. And remember that it can also represent values below or less than a certain value. So it's a negative 7. How about this? 300 feet below sea level. So this still the same. It's below sea level. That means you are dealing with negative numbers. And next is hiker hiking to an altitude of 4,000 feet. So when you hike, it's rising. So that means it's positive. Okay? So positive 4,000. Or you are spending $34. What does it mean? So you are losing money from spending. That means it's a negative. So negative 34. You can actually graph the positive and negative numbers in the number line. So here are the on a number also on a number line, opposites are the same distance from zero but on different sides of zero. So the positive numbers, those are in the right side and the negative numbers are in the left side. So opposite, that means it has the same distance. For example, there the negative 5 and positive 5, they have the same distance from zero. Okay? So, and negative 2 and positive 2 as well. So integers class, it is a set of whole numbers and their opposite. When we say set of all whole numbers, remember that whole numbers includes 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are whole numbers. So we tell that integers are a set of whole numbers and their opposites. So when we say opposites, so that is the opposite sign or opposite symbol of a number. For example, when I say positive 3, its opposite is negative 3. So meaning we are dealing also with the negative. So aside from dealing with the whole numbers, we are also dealing with negative in integers. At that is what we call integers now. Again, integers, it has negative numbers or negative integers. It also has a positive integers, and it includes 0. And always remember that 0 is not a negative, nor it is not also a positive. Okay? So again, 0 is neither negative nor a positive. Okay. So remember, the set of whole numbers includes 0 and the counting number. So you know that one already, that whole numbers includes 0 and a counting number. So again, let's have this one. No, a graph. Graph each integer and its opposite line, opposite on a number line. So how are we going to graph that one? So you just have, you can see there is the negative positive 2. What is the opposite of positive 2? The answer is negative 2. Okay? How about negative 5? So, point the negative 5 there. And then, what is the opposite of negative 5? Of course, it's positive 5. Okay? And they have the same distance from 0. You can actually try to count them. From there, 1, 2. Here also 1, 2. Okay? Here also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, the same distance. Same with positive 1, which is negative 1 is the answer, and so on. So, same with this also. The absolute value of an integer is its distance from 0 on the number line. So, the symbol for the absolute value is like that. Okay? Like this. That is the symbol. And the number will be inside of it. Okay? For example, absolute of negative 2. So, you will have to write this one, because that indicates the symbol of absolute value. And the number that you mentioned, that should be inside of that one. Okay? So here, so when we say distance class, we all know that distance is always positive. Okay? Again, we all know that distance is always positive. But of course, if you are dealing with negative distance, you are moving from your left or you are moving downward. So that is the meaning of negative also, right? So always remember that the answer of an absolute value is always positive, even if you are dealing with negative, because you are dealing with distance man. So that should always be positive. For example, you are dealing with negative 3. The distance of negative 3 to 0 is actually positive. It's actually 3. Therefore, the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. And then the absolute value of 3, positive 3, is also 3. Remember that if we don't write any symbol, that means it's a positive. So, 3 units, right? No, as you can see there. So, always remember that absolute values are never negative. They can never be negative. Opposite integers have the same absolute value. Okay, so when we say negative 4, what is its opposite? It's positive 4. And it has the same distance from 0. So, it has the same absolute value. Okay? So, additional example. So, find the absolute value of negative 2. So, remember that negative 2, the absolute value is positive 2. How about positive 8? The answer is 8. Okay? Because the distance from 8 to 0 is 8. Okay? How about positive 6? The answer is 6. So, easy as that. But how about negative 4? The answer is positive 4. So, the same thing. Okay? Okay, now let's move on to comparing and ordering integers. So, we understand now absolute value. We will move now to integers. But before we move with the operations on integers, we will be dealing first on how we understand integers. No, comparing and ordering of integers. Let's start with this one. So, again, we know already that integers, it has 0 in the middle. It has counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And its opposite is also included in the integers. And aside from that, although we are counting there one by one, we can also count them by twos. What do you mean by twos? So you start with 0 and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. As long as you start with 0 and then on your right, it should be a positive integers. And then to your left also, since you are counting to your right 2 by twos, so you will also do that in your negative part. Okay, so we have negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, and so on. So, the sign numbers on the number line, we can also have it like negative 3 or positive 3, 6, 9, 12, counting by 3. So the same in the negative integers. So how are we going to compare now? Always remember that everything is on your right side is bigger than your left side. For example, this one, we know that negative 3 is bigger or greater than negative 21. So how are you going to interpret that one? So you just have to do it like this. For example, if you have a positive number, so always remember that that is a bracket, for example. If it's a negative, that means you owe. So you are debited or you owe something from someone. Okay, so we have here, for example, I will compare negative 3 to negative 18, for example. So which is more preferable? You owe money, negative 3 pesos, or you owe 18 pesos. Remember that we represent negative as a negative impact to life, for example. So we represent negative as we owe something from someone. So that means negative 3 means you owe 3 pesos. And then negative 18, you owe 18 pesos. No? That is one example in real life scenario. So which is more preferable? Negative 3 or negative 18? You owe 3 or you owe 18? Of course, you will choose you owe 3 pesos. Therefore, negative 3 is greater than the negative 18. So that is how you interpret the integers. And I hope that is clear. Okay? So let's have the example now. So here, preferably, you will choose the positive one, of course. No, regardless of how much is that, for as long as it is a positive, you are gaining something than losing. How about 72 and negative 73? So again, 72 is greater than negative 73 because negative man ang 73, while 72 is a positive. How about number 3, negative 9? That means you owe 9 pesos or you gain nothing. Just it. Okay, so the answer of course is 0 because it's more preferable nga you choose 0 because you don't owe anything. No, it's just that you don't gain also. Okay? Number 4, of course, as I have said before, if we ignore the positive symbol, that is still positive. So positive 85 and 85 is actually the same. So that's equal. So here, negative 45 and negative 55, the correct answer is positive 45. Negative 45, sorry. So the greater one, okay? So always remember that this is greater than because that means you are dealing with it. It is greater. So that's why we use the greater than symbol than this one. So that is the meaning of that. Okay? So the one that you will eat, kanang hangahonin mo, that is the bigger number. And the one that you like arrowing like this, murag arrow ni mo, tudlo, that is the lesser one. Another example, what is the answer for that? Of course, it's greater than number 7. It's less than number 8. It's greater than number 9. What's your answer for number 9? It's less than. That means negative 3,000 is greater. And then number 10 is negative 4,500 is greater than negative 1,500. Negative 5,500. So it's greater than. Okay? And you will do the practice on this. How about arranging the integers below? What could be the possible answer? Okay, so I will only give one example on this and we will do the rest in the face-to-face. Okay, for example, this one. So I have here negative 23, 12, negative 30, negative 32, and 11. What do you mean by ascending order? That means increasing. So when we say increasing, from least to greatest. Okay, least to greatest. How about if we say descending? So when we say descending, it's decreasing from greatest to least. So this time we focus on ascending, increasing. Okay, so we start with the smallest. Again, smallest, that means the number that we don't prefer most likely. Okay, so the number that we don't prefer is having a debt of negative 32, this one. So we start with negative 32, followed by negative 23, followed by negative 13, and then positive 11, and then positive 12. So this is the sequence. I hope that is clear and you can Pasensya sa akong writing, but it is the answer. I hope that is clear. How about descending order? Let's have one example for descending order. How about this? So, descending is you have to start with the greatest. So the greatest is, I prefer to have 202 pesos, followed by 101, followed by 50 pesos, followed by I owe 101 pesos, and lastly, of course, you owe 202 pesos. Okay, that is the sequence for this one. This is descending order. And we are done with understanding integers. Okay? And you will move now to your second part of this lesson in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.